What's up, everyone? This is Kiki coming to you today to send nothing but peace, love, and happiness your way. Just getting ready to start my first day of summer. I can now retire my badge. For a minute. And I was listening to a podcast as I travel around and prepare to get a couple of things for my household. And basically, the podcast talked about, how people pretty much label people or others, or how exes label their ex-girlfriend or maybe ex-boyfriend when their relationship failed or it doesn't work out. And so I said, this is a great topic for me to share my thoughts on. And don't forget to leave a comment, something that's going to be positive and help us learn from each other. I'm always open to learning new information. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and help me throughout this journey so we can get some more information out there. I know there's plenty of information out there, but everybody have their own style of presenting information. So here goes. The thing is, y'all have to excuse me if I look a little oily and sweaty. It is hot. Like, summer is coming in with a full blast bang, and it's to the point where if you're full figured, you might want to, walk around with some wet wipes and some extra panties, because you will get extra moist this summer. So, I digress. So as you may have been, following me, as you already know, I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout my life. I started out in church as a hardcore Christian, Pentecostal, Kojic, and just pretty much learned their ways of following the Bible and their way of just being a Christian. And throughout that time of my life, I still felt like I was missing information. I did not feel satisfied. I think I just felt like an outcast. And it wasn't that I felt like I fit more in the club worldly life, because I still felt out of place. Like I went to the moon some years ago, like many years ago, just to kind of get a feel of the atmosphere. I even been to top flight, and I was like, yeah, something feels a little not me here. So, and I'm not saying it was a bad, terrible experience. It's just I felt like I needed more. I needed something else. And so I just kind of went with the flow of things until I found my purpose and found a better fulfillment. And throughout that journey, I did go through a lot of fuck ups. I'm not ashamed to say. I missed a lot of red flags. And, when you learn behaviors that are unhealthy and toxic during your upbringing, you think that's the norm. But once you wake up and you really find out more about life and the purpose of it and why things work the way it does, then it's like you start behaving differently. You start to accept it and not fight against what's the reality, And but I'm going to talk about not really the podcast, but I am going to kind of touch on it a little bit. But I really want to talk about how you recognize whether you are still stagnant and stuck, and how to recognize whether you are really on the right path, and how you are really seeing the results of your life changes and self-improvement, right? So, and sometimes I have to use my experiences, and they're very personal, but it's like I don't want people to think that I had a perfect life or I have all the answers, when I had to go through a lot of mess ups and, like I said, fuck ups in order to really figure things out. That's why I always talk about duality and polarity. When we are living a certain way and we make mistakes, we learn from those mistakes. Well, at least most of us, we're supposed to learn from those mistakes and not repeat those mistakes. And it's supposed to help us graduate, pass that test and graduate and move on to the next level. So let me go back as far as I possibly can. So when during my immature days, I saw when I started dating, I kind of learned from the person that I was with, and my first crush, my first high school love that kind of grew on me, showed me how to date, and it wasn't the best advice, and it wasn't the best experience, but at the end of the day, I was loyal, and I really wanted to see if we could grow into a couple, or go back and say, hey, we were high school sweethearts and now we're married. But I feel like when a divine come in and create a division, it's meant for that to happen, because some people are put into your life for a season, for a reason, right? So early on, I did not understand how relationship worked, because I was so caught up with, oh, this is all about religious ideas, and you gotta make sure that you don't fornicate, you gotta make sure you don't shack up. And I'm like, well, we learn about that in church, but they don't tell us what to do with those urges when they're natural urges. What do you do when you find somebody attractive and they're saying the right things and they're hugging you and touching you the right way? And what do you do with those feelings? Because that is what was naturally instilled in us, to connect physically, to exchange energy, and to procreate. And I never learned that, at least not in my church. It was just, everything was forbidden, everything is a sin, everything is wrong. So I had to go throughout my life learning based on what I saw, what I learned, what I seen, how my uncles treated their girlfriends, and how my mom treated, my stepdad, and how my grandparents, how their relationship sustained a lot of, challenges and stuff like that. But at the end of it all, I always wanted to have that traditional love type relationship. I just always thought it was sexy and romantic to, I believe in chivalry. And I think that it is a beautiful thing when you embrace it. So with that being said, throughout my sexual exploration, I thought, okay, when I gave up my body, I thought that was my way of showing that I'm dedicated and I'm going to be loyal, and I'm safe to love. But at the same time, it was a big mistake, because a lot of guys was not thinking the same way. They had a different mindset. And see, when you fall into a situation where you're thinking, okay, one thing, and you're trying to do one thing, and another person is trying to do another thing, then you end up falling into a category where they want to label you as a whore, or they want to label you a certain type of way, because they played this role like, oh, I'm interested, I want to be faithful, I want to be committed. But then they actually didn't know what they wanted. They just was in the moment and was, letting their dick lead the way. So it's like, that's why I don't really, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't really associate with the word whore, because I feel like we all got a little whore in us. If no matter how much you try to pretend that you're trying to be strong, and you're trying to, put your foot down, when you are in the right mood and in the right place at the right time, those urges naturally come up, because that is why we create pheromones. That's why, sex exists. So it's like, with that being said, you just gotta realize that you are, at the end of the day, in control of your body. You're in control of your decision making. And whether you decide to have a fuck buddy, whether you decide to have, somebody with benefits, or whether you decide to have a different dude every other day, whether you decide to be faithful, whether you decide to be loyal, committed, no matter what you decide to do with your body, it is your business. But it's like, when it becomes an issue is when your choices start to affect other people, and it start to trickle around. So if you are breaking people heart and you playing mind games, now you're setting a tone where people think that, everybody is out there trying to play mind games, and it's not really the case. Or there are a lot of guys that, and I may speak more from a feminine perspective because I'm a woman, but I'm gonna try my best to balance out both sides. But when you are a female and you're dating a guy, and maybe things didn't work out, now this guy got this mentality like, okay, well, I better breadcrumb this woman, or I better play mind games, because I know maybe she's too attractive, and she might play mind games and cheat on me. or maybe the guy might have low self-esteem where they don't feel like they don't make enough money, or they don't feel confident in their, I guess, academic, educational, intellectual skills, or they may be a few inches short in the pants, and they feel like another guy might come up with, a longer girth or thicker girth or length, and they might outdo the guy. So it's like, when a guy is walking around with all of these baggages and negative thought patterns in their mindset, it is hard for him to focus on the main goal, and that's being loyal. It's hard for him to open up his heart to truly learn how to develop self-love, and that means appreciate your flaws and all, and then share it with someone else without feeling, doubtful or having low self-esteem. So I will say, women have their moments of low self-esteem as well. Like I have mentioned in many of my other videos, that when I first got with my ex, which is the one I married, it was hard for me to accept the fact that, wow, he really feel me. He's really into me, when he knows that I'm still, trying to learn about myself. I'm still trying to learn about life. I don't have any money coming in. I don't have transportation. So I had all of these negative thoughts about myself, and it was hard for me to fully relax in a relationship, and which caused him to kind of have second thoughts, and cause him to always question me about whether I'm being faithful and honest, and whether it's like sometimes people can project their negative energy onto the next person, and then that can cause an issue, because now, I'm questioning him, he questioning me. People can actually see on the outside that our relationship is shaky, so they may flirt with me. Guys may flirt with me to try him, and women may flirt with him to try me. So it's like, you got to be very mindful of your thought process and what you say to yourself, and when you are communicating with the other person, because like I said in my previous video, your words are spells. So if you sit and you come up with a whole list of things of why a guy may not be fully into you, then you start to act those things out. You start to have low self-esteem. You start to dress like you're embarrassed, or you don't want to go out as much. Because I was the type that I never really liked being in crowded places. I still don't really like that, and that's not because I have low self-esteem. It's because it's just too much energy that I'm absorbing. And if you're an empath, if you've been blessed with that gift, you have to know how to balance that gift. And I'm still learning how to balance that gift, because when I'm around people, I'm around people with negativity, or they're still grieving and they're pretending to be one thing and they're not. I can feel that energy before they even open up their mouth. That's why I don't really hang around my coworkers, because I can already tell who full of shit, who finna come lie to me, who got to put on this act like they got it all together when they know they are very scared in their position. I can see all of it, but I just kind of go with the flow, and I'm always trying to be optimistic. And some people don't even like that. They be like, well, dog, why you so positive? And I'm over here pissed off and I'm mad. But I'm like, if I go through my life being negative, then it's just best for empaths and people with spiritual gifts to not be negative, because they can take that gift, and once they allow demons and demonic thoughts to get in their head, it's like twice as worse. It is twice as worse. Like I said, look up some zodiac signs and which sign has the most criminal background, record. You have to know how to regulate and balance that gift. That's why I always say I am full of light, but I'm full of darkness. I can be heavenly, or I can be full of hell, So, and that's just how it is. And it's like that in many people. But when you are a chosen one, and and you recognize your gift, it can be a very powerful but dangerous thing at the same time. But like I said, when it comes to labels, when it comes to people trying to put you in a certain box and tell you how you are and what you should be based on their thought patterns, you got to know, don't allow those shackles to weigh you down. Even if your relationship don't work out, it does not mean that you are a very bad person. It just means that you was not a good fit at that point in time in your life. Yes, y'all probably was a good match. If y'all both got together, trauma bonding, it was a good match. But when somebody start to elevate and they learn more about themselves and learn about their ancestors and learn about the universe and where they stand, then that person got to either catch up, or they got to move out the way and let somebody else that's ready to catch up. It doesn't mean that you're a whore because you decided to replace somebody that's no longer a good match for you. It just means that you need fulfillment, and what that person was offering is no longer available. So just because somebody say, hey, I don't want to be with you no more, because you are growing and you decide to look at life and appreciate yourself and require growth and more out of life. If they decide to cheat on you with somebody that's okay with, because there are women out there, they're okay with the bare minimum. They're okay with breadcrumbs. They're okay. This guy, all he does is fix things in my household. That's all I want. I just need a man that's going to help fix things around my household. Even though he might be not motivated to grow. He may have a poor credit score. He may have gambling or some type of addiction, drug, alcohol. Some women be okay with that because they're not ready to grow. And they feel like, okay, well, this man is on my level because he meet me where what I want. I'm good. I don't expect more out of him. Some women don't want a man with a lot of money because they feel like, okay, well, then she's going to be pushed to grow and match him. Some women will tolerate a guy with a whole lot of mental, emotional issues because they're battling a whole lot of mental, emotional issues, and they don't want to have to heal from it. They don't want to face their dark shadow side. So good, great. Now I get to be with somebody that's broken. I can deal with him coming in the house 2:00 in the morning, drunk, throwing up on everybody, peeing on himself because I don't want to have to grow. I don't want to have to learn how to be a classy woman. I don't want to have to be a woman that have to work hard. I want to just relax and depend on the government, or I want to do some thieving stuff, or I want to, be deceptive, or I want to fuck all his homeboys and his family members, and I'm good. That means I don't have to grow because I know how to grow. I know how to attract men in a way that's good and satisfying to me because I'm lacking something within me, but I don't want to face that. So I'm going to accept this dude, even though he cheat on me. We argue, we fight, but we still make up and then we repeat. So there are women out there that's okay with that. And so if you're one of those women that don't want to be on that level, that want to grow, that refuse to believe that your upbringing, and maybe you grew up in a very toxic family. Maybe your mama was hoish, your daddy was hoish, your grandma was hoish, somebody was an alcoholic, somebody was a crackhead or drug addict. Maybe you grew up in that environment, but you refuse to let that dictate your life. You refuse to be a product of your environment. Just because you grew up in that environment does not mean you got to stay and repeat that same environment, or you repeat those same behaviors and pass it on to the next generation. Some people, it's okay to walk away from that. There's nothing wrong with that. No matter how much people say, oh, you bougie. Oh, you act like you all that. Oh, you think just because you finished school, you think you smarter than everybody. Don't let nobody knock you down. Don't let those demonic spirits attack your light because they refuse to grow. So no matter how much they try to tempt you, they try to trigger you, they try to label you, outcast you, know that you got your team, your spirit team backing you up, and you wondering why your blessings come smooth and easy and they got to work hard for theirs, or they barely get blessings. That's because you recognize yourself. And see, you can't say you love Jesus and God if you don't love yourself. If Jesus is the Son of God and you are considered one of God's children, you cannot say that you're special and you love yourself if you abusing yourself, if you are fucking up yourself, you're doing some low vibrational stuff, or you running behind low vibrational men. It's almost like sanity when you go to church. As soon as you get out of church and you go out there and you sin again, then you go back to church and you repent, and then you go out there and sin again. Then you go back and you do it again. Then you go back again. Or even when you say, okay, well, I go to church, I pay tithe, so I'm good with God. So now I got the right to judge others. The hell? You got shit fucked up when you sit around and you think like that. If you think that you got a special blessing coming, or a special, because let me tell you, you got to know the difference between your blessings. There are blessings that will set you up and get you all excited and happy. And then next thing you know, shit go wrong real quick right after that blessing. So you got to know there's blessings that last and that you can actually see, and it actually makes a difference. And there's temporary blessings. A man that comes into your life can be a temporary blessing. Oh yeah, he can lick you up and down, inside out. He can throw it down in the bedroom. You can throw it down in the bedroom. You can give him the goat throat treatment. You can do all that. That might be a blessing. But that can be a temporary blessing because another person can come in and interrupt all that if he's weak-minded, if he's easily influenced by other people, or if you're weak-minded and easily influenced by other guys. So all I'm saying is there's no perfection, but there's always progress. There's always room for growth. You just got to believe in yourself. And I know my eyes looking kind of crazy, but it is so hot out here. I'm telling you, y'all, that summer heat is full throttle today. But I'm about to go and find me some cool AC to chill out in. And I will be in touch with you a little bit more often now that I got a little bit of downtime. And let's learn together. Let's grow together. Like I said, I am so open to learning with you and growing with you and networking with people that's like-minded, while we're on this journey. Let's try to make it to the finish line together, because I know that there's something great ahead. I can feel it. I can feel it in my spirit. And that's what motivates me every time I get frustrated with things in my life, because in my mind, I feel like my ego want me to control everything. It's not meant for it to happen that way. When I want to cry some days when I'm aching, when I'm in pain, some days when I look at my bank account, I'm like, what the fuck going on in here? At the end of the day, I still know great things are coming. Things are being prepared for me because my spirit God know my heart. And see, that's what it is. If your shit ain't working out for you, that's because your heart it's too heavy. Your mind is too dirty. It's too cluttered with unnecessary shit that you got to clear out. And how I know? Because I was there. I was right where you were once upon a time. So when I'm talking to you and I'm giving you advice, it's out of love. And because I know what I'm talking about, it works. But you just got to give it a try. You can't think that things going to work overnight. You have to keep trying. You gotta clear your mind. You got to ground yourself. You got to connect with nature. You got to recognize your ancestors, no matter how much they probably fucked up in the flesh, but they know in the spirit world that nothing but good can happen. Nothing but good can happen. I'm not saying that the demons don't exist. I'm saying negative thoughts is what create the demons. And you got to know how to get a handle on it. No, you can't really control every little thing that you think about, because the world and the programming is influenced for you to be challenged with stuff like that. But when you pass that test, give yourself some prop. If you were able to walk away from people that piss you off and you want to just punch them in their throat, congratulations. That's when you need to celebrate, because you just prevented yourself from going to jail. When you wanted to retaliate and get somebody back because they cheated on you, especially when they done mess with a family member of yours, and you still got to face that family member, give yourself a big hug, because you got true self-love. You did not stoop to their level. You did not fight over somebody that was not meant for you. You know what I mean? So with that being said, y'all take it easy. Stay prayed up. Give yourself affirmations when I say prayed up. Give yourself some grace. Love yourself no matter what mistakes you make. And keep trying until you can't try no more. Until next time, peace out. I told y'all it's hot up in here. All this sweat down in here. Gotta get me some baby wipes. Bye, y'all.